Since the year is ending and my free time is rapidly decreasing, a lot of titles I play are not getting the time and coverage they deserve. Which is why I am packing 5 games I've recently played into one video, reviewing each one of them in a quickfire style. So let's get started with Command Deck, a new deck building roguelike in space, seeing us fly a spaceship through the big unknown, filled with pirate and other kind of ships, shooting at us while we respond in kind in an incredibly satisfying combat design, with one huge, frustrating flaw. Diving into a sector of the typical roguelike progression path, we see our ship freely traverse through a randomly generated map, finding helpful stations and unhelpful aggressive enemies. Engaging in a space battle, we draw cards, usable through the limited actions we have per turn, while our enemies' intentions are shown as well. Picking shield cards to block incoming blasts or utilize the many offensive abilities, the battle system is surprisingly well designed. With 3 possible attack patterns, we go through or bypass the enemy's shields to destroy their hull, the ship going up in flames. Blasts are simple projectiles, destroying shield stacks and damaging the hull once they are through. Missiles, on the other hand, bypass shields and directly damage the ship, while lasers are the most dangerous of them all, dealing a ton of damage but can be blocked by shields, seeing the damage reduced for each stack. With additional cards like drones that help us put up shields or damage our opponents, we further can utilize a burning ailment and numerous other options like modules we gain, which give us more actions and cards per turn, seeing us gain countless ways to beat our opponents. With a brilliant combat design mixed with a neat art style, I mean, look at those explosions, the game only falls flat on 2 accounts. The first is the lack of any form of meta progression. There are no ships we unlock, no power-ups we gain, no new cards we gather. We just die, lose everything and get back in, which I just don't prefer. But granted, the game is only in early access, so the potential is still there. Oh right, the second issue I have with the game is the end boss. However, I am uncertain if it actually is the end boss or just the first boss of the first section. But god damn it, Donut, I have not been able to beat it because it gets stronger throughout the fight, negates more or less all our defensive options and has more health than a vegan. So this fight felt incredibly frustrating and unsatisfying compared to all the other well-designed enemies and mini-bosses. Hitting the real fun refund machine will see Command Deck and on the upper levels for me. The next title is Ragnar, a Viking-themed action roguelike, similar to Hades, seeing us guide the main hero Ragnar through treacherous levels filled with Loki's minions. Through a handful of weapons we can equip, Ragnar's attack pattern changes and sees us take care of our enemies, with a light and heavy attack as well as special skills, like a freezing spell, each with a charged attack, changing their effects. This flexibility in gameplay gets beefed up with upgrades we can find during a run, seeing us shoot lightning bolts or leave a wounding path behind us every time we dodge. Getting stomped by the enemy, which happened to me a lot, we get saved by Heimdall and visit the main base, where Heimdall, Thor and Freya provide us with stones to impact our next run, while other improvements can be found and unlocked through currencies we obtain fighting enemies. With a choice of numerous enhancements waiting behind each room, we take on smaller enemies, elites and bosses, which tend to fill the whole arena with loads of area attacks, making each room intensely packed and tight. This is one problem of the game, since the visibility of some attacks, especially the dangerous boss attacks, is rather rough. The flashiness of our own attacks isn't helpful either, making some attacks of the bosses easy to miss, and since the game's speed is like Hades on crack, we are required to perfectly time a dodge in milliseconds. Another gripe I have with the game is that the attack patterns become stale really quick, especially once we go through the shield of the enemies, which means we can constantly keep them in a stagger animation, which means we are just simply bashing the same attack button over and over and over again until they are dead. But let's not dwell on the negatives, since I can also praise the game, especially in the visual department, with an old school looking design which somehow still feels fresh and new. The fluidity of the character animations is top notch, and so is the sound design. Furthermore, in the base we have specific enhancements we can unlock through gear pieces and also classes we can upgrade, like health, damage and other options. Those classes, however, seem to be meaningless, since they make us start out a run with a specific weapon, which we will replace with randomly dropped weapons during the run anyway. So let's summarize. The combat design is incredibly fast and visually pleasing, yet a tad too fast and visibly difficult to make out when our flashy attacks overhaul the enemy animations. The customization and progression systems are fun to explore, while the classes appear to be rather pointless, since the most impactful thing they do is increase health and give us a weapon to start out with, which is replaced rather quickly. With a few more positives and negatives cancelling each other out, my verdict falls on the lower end of the scale. At least for now, since I can see great potential for this early access title, but when there are currently Hades-esque games doing it much better, I'd much rather drop this and play any of the other ones. Following a Hades-like is Pirate Outlaws 2 Heritage, the sequel to the positively received deck-building roguelike Pirate Outlaws. In here we follow the footsteps of previous characters and see ourselves fight as an immortal little girl who has a magic potion to transform into various iterations of herself, unlocking different kinds of playstyles. With a clever deck building system, we pick a class and a companion like sweet little Chicken McNugget here and pick a location to explore with our ship. Traveling between the islands filled with enemies, shops and a few event locations like a mine or a bazaar, which is actually just another shop, all this roaming around takes resources, which slowly get drained and could result in an abrupt ending. However, a visit to the tavern and we can refill our larder. Facing off against the appropriately themed enemies is done in the well-designed combat system, which actually felt fresh and new. Imagine that in a roguelike deck builder. Each card takes down the hourglass as well as the enemy's timer. Once the enemy's timer reaches 0, they perform their indicated action, while the hourglass lets us redraw a new hand, as well as take down as many counts as is left on the timing device. Since we gain cards that let us draw during a turn or activate cards without taking down any timer, we are constantly working with and against the clock. Some actions are better used before enemy skills, or sometimes we skip out on our hand to activate the enemy's intentions on purpose. With melee, defensive, skill and also ranged cards, we utilize the limited ammo shots we have to perform powerful skills or put up shields to block the incoming hit. Every battle was a ton of fun, while each time we win we gain new cards, which also can upgrade once we find 3 of the same kind. With additional relics we can equip and even gain set boni. Once we found every piece of a set, we become more and more powerful, while the map gets harder and harder on the way to beating 3 elite encounters. We could either challenge all of them or skip out on the expedition and bring all the experience and gold we've gathered to our base to enhance our characters further through more class variety, blocking or enhancing specific cards, and through the great addition of a talent tree. While the artwork is charming, the extraction part of the game is rewarding and the combat design actually feels fresh for the genre, the balance of the fights is all over the place, while the lack of a save point during a run feels horrendous, since a lot of runs tend to get quite long. Especially during arena fights, I was nearly an hour in during an attempt and I had to forfeit the attempt since I had to leave my house, which felt incredibly frustrating. Not the part about leaving the house, but you know what I mean. Last but not least, it felt incredibly grindy to get any amount of gold and experience points to level up, which all culminates to Pirate Outlaws 2 Heritage, ending in the lower area of our clever machine, at least for now and at least for me, but I have high hopes for this title since its early access period has only just begun. Next up is a neat little combination of the board game styled title Demeo and the huge franchise of Dungeons and Dragons, mixing together in a story-focused turn and party-based game. With a fully voiced narration, we move around our party pieces on a charmingly styled table in a living room. A guitar and a telescope, what a nerd! Picking a fully fleshed out campaign, we see ourselves either pick one hero and fill it with further characters we control, or we get to play with up to 4 friends, but who has that many? Right guys? Each hero has their own character sheet with a handful of stats we can benefit from after each level up, depending on the chosen class. I for one picked a dwarf fighter, fulfilling the role of a tank, using his 2 action points to charge into the fray and use the limited cards to perform powerful actions. With each hero having 2 fixed hand cards, the others are being filled up by looting chests or performing enough actions that the whole party receive new skills they can use. These spells are kept for each mission, so we can stack them up nicely or scrap unwanted ones, which is incredibly helpful to keep the hand free for more cards. Combining specific actions like a poison grenade with a fire spell sees the green cloud go up in flames and hit all units in range, unless we roll the wrong result and see our hero miss their target. Freely choosing which mission to follow and picking a stat to enhance our hero's combat power gives us a ton of freedom, which however is bafflingly limited to only enhancing our chosen hero, while the other characters are stagnant in their stats and therefore will fall behind in future campaigns, which is just an insane design choice. If they fix this issue and make the movement a bit more accessible and improve the visibility of it, then the board game feeling, combined with the decently voiced storytelling and the good combat, and I mean good, not great, all those positives combined can easily outweigh the currently plaguing issues I mentioned, especially since the developers have already addressed the issue about only the main hero gaining experience points. So when we hit the clever machine, it shows that Demeo X Dungeons & Dragons Battlemarked is not only a mouthful, but also a fun experience with more potential to come. Last but not least is a title similar to Vampire Survivors, but with a fresh new twist, combining the tower defending genre with base building and survivor elements. Following a rolling down city, we defend it by taking down creepy enemies, farm resources like wood and stone, and bring back the experience each enemy drops to build new sections for the city, with turrets shooting mortars, spawning explosive minions and passive income corners to successfully make it through a run, just to name a few examples. Each stretch of the road has a pit stop, which not only comes with a shop but also a choice of two options, rewarding us with weapon upgrades, gold or other resources, while we stand our ground long enough in a small arena. Surviving those sections sees our fighter return to the city, which then again begins its journey to the safe zone, namely the Ark, which is defended by a boss in each of the 4 different biomes. While our hero as a whole gets stronger throughout the run, the city gets larger and larger, which is a double-edged sword, since every addition makes the city a bigger target as well as broaden the path the city has to take. Since there are rocks, buildings and trees standing in the middle of the road, we have to chop and mine those to clear a path, while each of those gives us a resource helpful to our city. Stone rebuilds the city's health, which gets dropped every time an enemy reaches its walls, while wood enhances the attack speed of our turrets. All those buildings form a well-rounded city and change every time we attempt a new run, which further gets enhanced through a progression option in the main menu. There we can spend a rare currency to enhance our hero's health, the damage output of our turrets, or even our harvesting speed to chop down trees quicker. Once we are satisfied with the upgrades, we restart a run and pick a type of city which is incredibly varied, with the Mirror City for example, copying each building on the opposite side, while the Propaganda City enhances the effects of sections that benefit from nearby turrets, to name 2 examples. All these different kind of cities, combined with having meaningful options at each level up, which building to pick, and blend all this in a charmingly stylized world, culminates in a great mix of ideas and genres. The fact that it feels a tad grindy to gain enough resources for upgrades, and the only main difference in the biomes are the visual aesthetics, are both minor negatives compared to the incredibly fun title that is Monsters Are Coming Rock and Road, which ranks rather high on my verdict scale. And those are 5 titles I played in the last few weeks, but since I sadly didn't have enough time to dive deep in each one of them, those short reviews have to suffice. Would you agree with my verdicts? Was there any title you haven't heard of yet, and what is the capital of Spain? Let me know in the comments and have a great day or evening.